guys. Hey guys. Hey guys. My hands are finally not dry. Like guys, in my last video I think my hands are a bit dry, so don't watch here, but I just clean my hands now. But thank you so much for coming back to my channel, and if you're new here, hello, hi, how are you? I'm Alicia Parchment and this is HR Talks with Lish. We're very close to 5,000 subscribers actually, so please give us a subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content and you are liking it. So today's video, as you've seen from the title, I went to an interview for HR Senior Advisor Early Talent role. So it was a HR specialist role, and I was declined almost immediately. Like it wasn't even 24 hours and I got a message back from them saying, unfortunately, we've decided we do not want to continue on with your application. You know, that email that they always send. So yeah, I just wanted to talk to you about my experience of failure in interviews, because I've had quite a few now. And I just want to show you and basically encourage anybody who's gone through interviews right now and you are not getting a position, that it's okay, because your opportunity, what is meant for you will not pass you by. This is how I always see it right now, guys. What is meant for you will not pass you by, right? The job that is meant for you will happen. You will get it. It might take a long while, it might take a short while, but in time you will get it. But the only thing that you need to make sure that you continuously do is to keep going, retweaking things as you go by, trying to figure out what went wrong and how can you do better the next time so you can get to that position. We can't give up in this. We have to keep going. We've got to be consistent. Okay, so in this video I'm going to just talk you through my experiences of my failed interview and how it went, because I actually thought it was a great interview, but I did know when I left I messed up on one question, guys. Like, oh my gosh, I messed up on one question. The whole interview was great. So they asked me 6 competency-based questions, which were graded. And one of the competency-based questions I messed up, guys. I completely messed up. I knew after I took the long pause that we were done. Like, I knew. And I'm just trying to say this because, like, I'm not perfect, guys. Like, I have got interviews, I've got offers before. Check out got offered a job as a HR advisor, because I have, you know, I've been able to get jobs in HR and I'm very likable, I would say, as well. I just think I'm an authentic person and a lot of people can engage with that energy. So in every interview I've gone to, 100% success rate in terms of the engaging aspect of myself. But the reason why I failed on this interview was mainly down to one question, because as I said, the job market is too intense and tight right now. So for that one position I went for, there was about 100 other people that had applied and they interviewed like loads of people for it. So one slip up caused me to not get that job. If I didn't slip up, I probably would have got it. But as I said to you at the start of this video, what is meant for you will not pass you by. So that opportunity was never meant for me personally, I don't think. If it was, I would have been fine. I would have got through it. I would have been okay. And I would have got a job, but I didn't. So, okay, that was me just kind of briefly summarizing what this is all about. But I want to split this video into like a few sections. So the first section is just going to be what I thought went really well about the interview and what you should be doing to support you with being like just getting a job in an interview, even though I didn't get it this time, but still, guys, there was good things about it. And then the next section I want to focus more on why I failed, why I didn't get that role. I knew deep down, like there was a part of me that wasn't sure, but sometimes, you know, you've got some interviewers who are more lenient and the majority of your whole interview and your personality in general fits right in. So it doesn't matter if you made a mistake, but sometimes you do. So you want to make sure that you're confident throughout. So I want to show you how to not make the same mistake I did so that you are more confident in your interviews. I'm feeling good today, guys. I don't know. I think it's the sun. Guys, the sun has come out in the UK finally, and it's getting a bit warmer and I'm just feeling really good. So this has been a good day to film this video. But anyway, let's get into it. So what I would suggest you do when you are preparing for your interview, because I've realized in the interviews that I've been in, they ask this one question. So I think this is a question that you definitely need to prepare for. And this is what went well. 100% the tell me about yourself question. And I think the tell me about yourself question needs to be as authentic and as relatable to you as an individual as possible. Please do not go into the tell me about yourself question with the general way of explaining your career that you see everybody do, like the hard working and the enthusiastic HR professional who's been in HR now for like 3 years and really like focusing on reward and talent and whatever, right? That's too general and generic. With the tell me about yourself question, I really think that needs to be structured in a way where you are showing your personality. Okay, so by showcasing your personality, I would actually start with an anecdote if you can, right? Talk a little bit about yourself in the past. Why is it that you are now in a career in HR? Is there any tendencies? Is there any parts of you from a child that could potentially relate to where you are right now in your career? And that's something that I actually do now. I spoke about in this interview. I took them back to 2009, guys, like 2008 actually. But yeah, I took them back to 2008 when I was elected as a school counsellor when I was 10 years old, right? And how that felt and how I felt about supporting my my year in at that time, I don't know, like trying to advocate for more toys in the playground, right? But it doesn't matter. Like, it's the fact that I wanted to add value to my classmates, and I really, really, really wanted to get that position. So I prepped for it and I got voted into it, and it just showcases that energy that I've always had from young, that energy of wanting to support and help others, which I put now into my tell me about yourself question to fast forward to where I am today and why I am where I am today, and how I believe a lot of traits that I've had from a young child have, helped me to get into a career such as HR. So I really think you need to add personable elements into your tell me about yourself question. So start off with an anecdote if you can, but if not, really focusing on like a specific skill relatable to HR that's authentic to you, that's one of your strengths, that you can maybe talk about a little bit more as to why you like the HR space, and also talk about some of your achievements, which I always try and do as well, like a couple of really big milestones in my life at the moment within my career that I think are relatable to the role that I'm applying for. And then, talking about the years that I've been in the industry, and also how am I going to add value to this organization, like looking at their job description and everything I've just said about myself. How can I then talk about how I can add value to their organization in that way? So I think the tell me about yourself question is a crucial one. So you definitely need to really prep for that one beforehand. It's always asked, I think. And even if it's not, it's just good to have that prepped, because it's kind of like your elevator pitch and you just know how to present yourself in these circumstances. So make sure you are properly structuring that tell me about yourself question. What else that went well? Another question that I deeply prepared for was the questions around any project work that I did. So they asked me, tell me about a time where you've worked on a project and what were the results of that work and what do you achieve? That kind of question. Now, that question can be told in different ways. You might have different angles in the way that people say that question. But generally, basically what that means is talk about a time where you supported or led on a project, and what's the impact and what result did that make? What value did you add to your previous organization in that? Now, I did specifically, the reason why I did a project last year was because I wanted to prepare myself for any kind of question like this in the future, because I knew last year that I would like to move into potentially the L&D space, the early careers space, or even the organizational development space. And I knew, regardless of that, doing a specific project and being able to lead on a project is going to help me to answer this question in the future, right? And here we are in the future. And I actually said to them, you know what, I'm really happy you asked me that question. So I'm going to go into X, Y, and Z project. And I think it's important for you to understand exactly how that project was structured. If you led on that project, what was your, what did you do in that project to support the project to make it happen, right? So think about how it was initiated. Did you present a business case to senior leaders? Did you have to come up with a project group to support you with this initiative? How did you split the project group up? How did you brainstorm the idea? Was you thinking about the experience of your client, in this case, the internal, employee population or the manager population? How were you thinking about their experience and thinking about what kind of experience they needed to have to ensure that this project was successful? In my experience, I have led a project where we created a 3-day webinar series, right? And I spoke about talking about the user experience as support to help us brainstorm what exactly was needed to make this webinar a success. What were the pain points, right? And I spoke about the experience in that process. I spoke about liaising with different people across our HR department, so our learning and development department. Some of our career and performance partners were involved in it. How did I connect with the internal stakeholder population, business leaders, to support me with that aspect of the project that I needed? So I am literally connecting the dots here, and as to how I have spoken with senior leadership, I've spoken with middle level managers, I've spoken with people who are graduate students, interns, the whole ecosystem, the whole employee lifecycle I have engaged with to support me on this project. So I was very clear on how I added value as a result of that as well. What was the result of that value that I added? How did that impact the organization? Did we meet our target when it came to how we're going to affect the user experience? And throughout these answers, guys, my personality shone through. I think I tried to be as authentically me as possible whilst answering the question, because at the end of the day, right, I don't see an interview as a time where I am being asked questions and answering questions to please the interviewer. Okay, yeah, I guess I'm trying to because I want to get a job, but hear me out. I'm coming to this interview as a person that you have chosen based on looking on my CV. You believe I am the right fit for your organization. So you are interviewing me along with other candidates to see who is actually the proper right fit, because you want to hear more about me. So I'm coming to an interview and I am showcasing the value I can add as an individual. I'm not coming to an interview and answering questions based on what they want me to, what I think they want to hear. That's not how you should approach an interview. It shouldn't be what you think they want to hear. It should be based on what they've asked you. What are your experiences and what value have you added, and what kind of value did you bring to an organization? It's all about value. How are you going to be bettering that team? Why is it that they needed you? It's kind of like an election. I saw something on another YouTube channel about someone just talking about interviews and saying it's like an election. In an election, right, they are coming out to say, look, this is what I can offer you based on who I am, based on my expertise, based on my experiences. This is what I can offer you. So look at it like that. And I think when you do it like that, your personality will shine through 100%. So those are a couple of things that went very well. And I could tell it was going well because I could see them smiling, I could see them nodding, I could see them, I was in an in-person interview as well, so there were 3 of them. And I was seeing all of that, right? So I knew it was going well. But then, guys, the slip up happened. And I think, do you know what it is? I think the reason why I slipped up as well is because I was thinking, oh my gosh, I've paused for too long and I've not come up with a proper answer in my head. And I tried to think of so many different scenarios and then tried to say, oh, I've got something. And then I wasn't able to articulate it in my head. And then I was like, oh, Alicia, you've made the rookie mistake. For this answer, you have not prepared a proper answer to answer the answer. Basically, I didn't have anything prepared beforehand. And this is something now that I am going to add to my experience bank of experiences, because this question you need to prepare for this question because it's very important. So the question is, and to be fair, many of you probably do prepare for this one, and it's just me that didn't think about it properly, which I should have. The question is, how have you managed multiple deadlines at once? I'm just going to put it like that. I can't remember exactly how she said it, but it was to do with like managing workloads and like how do you prioritize things. And guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah, I'm actually gonna be very honest. Like, I find it very hard to prioritize tasks and things. I find it very difficult. And because I've been having a hard time right now managing my time, because I actually have with work, with YouTube, with life, I've just been finding things very difficult and getting to a point where I could potentially be burnt out, which I was at some point. I was kind of burnt out, so I had to take time off work because I was just like, I just can't do all of this at once. Because of that, I think that also played a role in me not being able to answer the question, because I was thinking, oh, I've got so many things going on, and I'm not able to manage my time properly. So there was an insecurity within me, I think, that made me think, ooh, this, I don't know if I can answer this truthfully, because everything right now in my life is like, there's too many things happening. So I was thinking back into my my career, like my role right now, like, okay, whenever I managed multiple things at once and like how have I executed it, because I have, guys, I have actually managed multiple things at once. I always do, and I do execute them, and I do get to a result, and I do think about a way to prioritize. But in that moment I froze and I just couldn't think. So I think for that question, when it comes to prioritizing your time, like, how do you prioritize your time, what are you using, like, you need to really think about that. And I'm still, like, guys, this interview was last week, right? So I'm very much fresh here, so I can't give you a full-on answer because I'm still doing the research myself. But most of you probably are better at managing time than me anyway, so you might be able to answer that, where you've already got an answer in your head, so you're all good. But for me, I've learned now that I need to, that's one of the common questions that they're going to ask you. And it's an important one anyway, because in anything that you do, you're always going to be juggling, managing. There's going to be multiple things. So I should have thought that's obviously going to be something they ask me. But it's not necessarily a question that I get asked in all my interviews. So I just thought, based in my last ones, they've not really asked me that, so I'm not going to think about it. But I think it should be something you should think about anyway, because if you do get the job, you potentially are going to, not even potentially, you will have multiple things to balance. So how are you doing that? So this is a good time to reflect on your time management and prioritizing your skills and not burning yourself out and all that. And this is a time for me to reflect. I'm now reflecting, okay, Alicia, how do you manage your time? Because you do manage it somehow, because you do get things done. But is the way you're managing your time the best right now? And if it's not, you can still be authentic about it in the interview, but you can also talk about what are you doing right now to improve yourself, and what are some of the results you're seeing based on the improvements you've made. Because that just shows that you're reflecting and you're actually being authentic with yourself, and you're not lying to yourself as well when you can't manage everything, and you're thinking, okay, how do I switch things up to really support me with being able to manage my time, so there's a priority. So yeah, that was the question I messed up on, guys. And literally they asked me, I'm telling you now, I was sitting there like, oh my gosh, in my head I was like, I haven't prepared for this one, damn. And to me, this just shows that, like, I'm like, with an interview, you need to be confident in all parts. And I think to be confident on all parts, you've got to analyze how you work now, and like what you've been involved in. What are your types of working styles like? How have you interacted with different people? There was also a question on how have I interacted with a conflict with a manager in the past, like someone didn't like something, how did you deal with that? Like, you've really got to think about everything you do in your career when you're trying to move to another career, because I've said this in other videos, it is actually all about how you communicate something. Like, I could have had a perfect time management schedule, but I just couldn't get the words out. Not to say I do, yeah, but like, let's just say I did. Like, there's some people out there who probably are very good time managers, and just that question, they just maybe blank out, don't know how to answer it. That can actually cost you the job, but just because you haven't been able to communicate it. So this is why I say everything I'm saying actually comes down to communication. How well are you communicating your ideas? And the way in which you do that is really having an understanding and preparation time to reflect, to be able to speak about it, to be able to continuously practice how you will talk about your experiences. That is how you do well in an interview. And that's how you can, like, ensure the nerves aren't completely, taking over. Because they're always going to be there a little bit. But, being prepared and knowing, well, I know my worth and I know my value and I know what I can add, so they can ask me anything and I can structure it. it takes practice to do, and it takes preparation, because you know, we're not always interviewing, we're not always in a time where we need to talk about what is it that you do. We're not always like that. So that's why I know it can be difficult, but I think, guys, I've learned my lesson. I need to really understand how I structure my experience, especially for the most common questions. So I would say, guys, based on my experience so far, the most common questions are the tell me about yourself question, the how do you manage a conflict, definitely, how have you led on a project and what was the resultant outcome, and also how have you how do you manage your time? And then I would also say, you need to think about some of the technical parts of the role that you apply for. So for mine, because it was an early talent role, they asked me about, have I managed like an early talent program in the past, and how did I manage it, and what did I do in it? So that was technical or specific to that role. So if you're going for different HR roles where there's specialisms involved, or if there's something specific to that HR role, you need to also think about some of the technical aspects. What are they going to ask you in general about what's on there, so on the job description. So yeah, guys, I just wanted to, you know, let you know what happened, why I failed my interview. I'm not disheartened about it, guys. I've been applying for jobs, right? And there's been some jobs that have been put on hold. Like, I had 2 opportunities where went through the application stage, I had a recruiter call me, and then it was like, oh, Alicia, I'm so sorry, the job's on hold. And I'm like, what do you mean on hold? Then I had someone call me up and say, oh, Alicia, we're not taking it off hold. It's now, the job don't exist anymore, because we can't move on with it due to unforeseen circumstances. I'm just like, what's going on? And then there's been times where I have been so close. I have been so close to getting a position that I absolutely adored, and then I lose out to internal talent. You know, so it's just a thing where I can't look at it as, why did I not get that job? Because I was never meant to be there. You know, the position that's meant for me will come. And I think also it's about, you know, certain boundaries you set for yourself. You may want a certain salary and you're just taking other jobs because you're just desperate, but actually the salary is not what you want, and then you don't end up thinking, you don't end up getting it. And sometimes in those situations, that, because I've been in that situation, I've been like, well, that's not even the salary I wanted anyway. So, you know, who knows, the opportunity that comes for me might exceed my expectations, and it's not appeared yet, it's not happened yet. So guys, keep strong, you've got this, you have definitely got this. Just keep working at practicing your answers. Be as confident as possible. Do not get disheartened when you get a rejection. When you're at interview stage, it's okay. You've been able to practice, and now you know what to do for the next one. So yes, that is my experience. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, as always. And as I mentioned before, we are so close to 5K. So give us a subscribe if you are really gelling with the content and you are vibing with the energy on this channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.